Alright, so again, just to review, we have the election of 1844 where they were discussing the Oregon stuff and the stuff with Mexico. What should we do? Don't forget you have Henry Clay of the Whig Party versus James K. Polk of the Democratic Party. Polk embraces Manifest Destiny. Not that Henry Clay didn't embrace it. Both people were running that were expansionists. Alright, but Polk was more of a vocal supporter of expansionism. The annexation of Texas, he defeats Henry Clay, takes that as kind of a mandate that expansionism is what Americans want. Okay, and remember, Polk wanted to purchase California and settle the boundary dispute along the Texas border, but that didn't work. He eventually provokes Mexico into war. I talked about how that happened on U.S. soil, quote, on U.S. soil. All right, the spot resolutions. So remember I said they went back to Congress and he said, hey, they shot at us on our territory. Well, none other than Abe Lincoln of the Whig Party back then got up and said, hey, Jimmy Polk, show me the spot where they shot at us, because he wanted Polk to point out this wasn't exactly U.S. territory. Nevertheless, I kept mentioning that both parties were expansionist. Well, he got his approval for war. Lincoln wound up voting for the War with Mexico. After all, Lincoln was also an expansionist. Okay? Alright, so an important battle during this war with Mexico in the 1840s was the Battle of Buena Vista. Okay? Make a long story short, we win. General Zachary Taylor becomes a hero. He eventually rises to his heroism to become president in 1848. He isn't the only person to become a war hero and eventually a president. Guys like Eisenhower, Andrew Jackson, George Washington. Alright, it's happened before, it's happened after him. Alright, now, we win the war after a few years, and we wind up signing the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo with the Mexicans. Alright, so basically the U.S. gained California, modern-day New Mexico, Arizona, Utah, and Nevada, and half of Mexican territory. So, this is what the treaty did for us. Alright, California became ours. Alright, it guaranteed to male citizens in the Mexican cession their liberty and property. So, Mexicans that were there already became American citizens, technically. Alright, racial relations wasn't the best out there, but technically they were American citizens. Also, Mexican was paid $15 million for this land, so it would be viewed as a purchase as opposed to us fighting a war with them to get the land. Alright, and it also confirmed the U.S. annexation of Texas. Alright, so if you look over here, this area right here is the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo. Alright, right here. New Mexico, Arizona, Utah, Colorado, Nevada, California. Alright, now this last thing right here, the Gadsden Purchase, which you see right down here, the darker gray, which we bought 5 years later, alright, in 1853. Alright, this marks the completion of the continental United States. Alright, so what I want to do now is watch Jimmy Fallon's skit on the Gadsden Purchase. Alright, so let's move on. So the effects of the war. It increased America's size by 1/3. Alright, look at the Mexican cession of 1848 right there. Alright, future generals emerge out of this war. Alright, names that we will learn later on in the year. Remember, the debate over slavery continued. Territorial expansion raised or re-raised the question of slavery. Are these territories going to become slave states? Should it be allowed to become slave states? And when they are territories, before they are states, should we allow slavery to exist in the territories? Alright, also don't forget you have the Wilmot Proviso, where David Wilmot proposed that, remember, any land we get from the U.S. war with Mexico is off limits to slavery. He was calling the South on its claim that it was not looking to expand the slaveocracy. Alright, it didn't pass, but it was always there in the background. Remember, it was a litmus test for politicians. Do you support this or not? Okay. Also, don't forget this led to the Compromise of 1850, which we'll go into more in subsequent video quizzes and in class. So don't forget the effects of the Mexican-American War. Alright, we gained land in the Mexican cession, the southwest United States. We increased our land by 1/3. The U.S. now expands from the Atlantic to the Pacific, so by the late 1840s we were done expanding in the continental United States, meaning not yet Alaska, not yet Hawaii. The Gadsden Purchase. is what finalized that. Also, don't forget, this brings back the debate over slavery. Should it expand? Should it be allowed in the territories? And so on. And don't forget, the Wilmot Proviso kept coming back all throughout the 1850s as a litmus test for politicians. All right, they were always asked, do you support this or not? All right, and whenever these things always came up, a Wilmot Proviso type thing came up in Congress, it would always pass the House but not the Senate. All right, now the effects of Manifest Destiny, the effect on Native Americans. They continually lost land and were pushed more and more west. You see the famous Trail of Tears painting. Eventually they were forced onto what are called reservations. The other effects, slavery. Manifest Destiny thrust the issue of slavery into the national spotlight. Again, the debate was over whether new land should be slave or should be free. The effect of Manifest Destiny on politics. The Wilmot Proviso. The Republican Party, as you will see, the Whig Party eventually collapses. The pro-slavery Whigs become Democrats, and the anti-slavery Whigs become Republicans. This is in the mid-1850s this happens. This is the modern-day Republican Party, the party of Abraham Lincoln. So that's also how slavery and Manifest Destiny change politics. All right, and the major Republican platform, as you will see, is going to be to stop slavery from expanding. All right, so be sure to take the quiz that will pop up right now.